Progress. February is going to be all about progress, but in order for us to make progress, we have to understand our current situation, accept where we're at, and do the deep inner healing work to change all of those patterns that are prohibiting us from truly making progress. Today, as we're back here on the Sovereign Woman Movement podcast show, welcome back. We're going to be talking about why it is crucial for us to truly understand how ancestral karmic cycles are showing up in our life today, based on the very first Mayan prophecy that was given to us a very long time ago, that will help us truly thrive and be sovereign and successful in today's day and age. Because in case you haven't noticed, this world not only is it completely unrecognizable, but we're just getting started with all the incredible changes that are upon us. So welcome, 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 Satnam, beautiful, beautiful goddesses, Satnam, sovereign woman. Such a pleasure to be back here on this beautiful week. It feels like January has been the longest month of my life. And I shouldn't be complaining, because I actually should enjoy January, being that it is my birthday month. It is my beautiful Penny girl's birthday as well. So something that I should be happy about. But the reason why it was so long for me, and there was a lot of amazing things that happened for sure, is just that there was a lot of lessons that I learned, a lot of integration that needed to happen. There was so much going on as it relates to reviewing, reassessing foundations, all these different things that needed to be changed. And we could a lot of times feel depleted, like lack of energy. So most of us usually are saying, time is going by really fast. But I think for many of us, February has felt like it dragged on, and like we couldn't get a lot of our projects off the ground, or a lot of the changes we wanted to make, because we were in that whole 2023, vibe of like new year, new me. And now that we're here closing out this very powerful month, we're really supported with a lot of different astrological transits. Like I was sharing with you all last month, or this month, at the very beginning of the month, I did an entire podcast episode on why you need to really be paying attention to what happens in March and what leads up to March, as well as through 2026, because we literally are starting a brand new dawn of time, which is what we're going to be talking about today. And it has a lot to do with this first prophecy of the Mayans. And when you think about these things that I'm sharing with you, I want you to apply them to all aspects of your life. Like many of us could be like, well, changes of cycle, changes of time, astrology. Well, what does that have to do with me? It has everything to do with you, because these changes or these cycles that we're ending, you need to learn to apply to your business. Oh my gosh, innovation and creativity, and the ability to actually not go extinct, like so many businesses are going extinct in minutes. You also need to pay attention and use these transits or this information, or what we're going to be talking about today, in your relationships, how we relate, whether that's romantic relationship, whether this is relationships with parents, with children. These transits or this information on disrupting patterns is crucial as it relates to relationships, because they are the highest form of yoga. And you apply this to what we're talking about here as it relates to your money, the changes and the cycles that are coming upon us. What are you going to do to be successful and thrive, not to, again, miss the boat or miss the opportunity, because there's so much right now of you being able to truly understand and integrate and be prosperity. You can apply all of this that we're talking about, especially to your health, to your physical health, to your spiritual health. So everything that we talk about is energy, and astrologically, and what the cosmos are doing impacts us in a very big way, that we can then use these transits for our own growth and for our own progress, which is February, what it's going to be all about. So recently I shared with you how all of the planets are now direct. So let's do a little bit of an astrological update first, before we talk about the first Mayan prophecy, because once we get into the Mayan prophecy, then I'll be able to share with you what you need to be doing right now to work with this Mayan prophecy, to find the opportunity, to find the healing, to find the success. So last week I shared with you all how we're in a really unique situation where all the planets of the cosmos are right now direct. And direct means that there's no retrograde, which means that There's no reassessing, reviewing, which means that the energy is really supporting you and actually propelling you and pushing you forward to take action now, finally. And you probably felt a surge of this. Like I said, last week, it was the beginning of it, where the first 3 weeks of January was just stagnant and you were taking your projects off the ground, but a lot of things were just not coming to fruition, or there were still a lot of things that you needed to get downloads on or clarity on. So now here we are, all planets direct, forward moving action, meaning opportunities, doors opening, those projects that were stagnant finally picking up momentum. But here's the thing, like, as much as that's really exciting for so many of us, it comes with the price. And what that price is transformation and change. In order for you to manifest, you must first become that within you, in your mind, before it actually is created here in the physical 3D. And the thing with all planets direct is that it's forcing us to make these changes, not just in one area, which when a planet is retrograde, like Mars or Uranus, they have a specific archetype which affects this particular area in our chart or in our energy or who we are. When all planets are direct, nothing's being reassessed. That means everything has to change. Your relationships, your money, your business, your spiritual world, your physical health. So it's not enough that you say, oh, I'm just going to go on a diet, or I'm just going to now stop eating meat or only eat vegetables. There is basically, we're so impacted to move into our new cycle of life that everything has to be transformed at the same time. And this is very crucial because by the time we get to March is the most important month of all of 2023, like I've shared with many of you and in the podcast too. March of 2023, two major things are happening that haven't happened for a long time. We got Pluto, the planet of destruction and death, that has been destroying destruction. It's really, this is why you never need to take revenge on your enemies or those that you believe have hurt you, because karma is like due, and where there has been abuse of power will continue to be revealed. And these people are kind of like shooting themselves in their own foot. And like some of the stuff that I've been seeing, how the universe is exposing these ways of power where power has been abused is comical. And I only laugh now because I was there in that position too, where I had to learn my deep karmic lessons where I was abusing power. And you need to learn those lessons too, in every shape, way, or form, whether that's you were abusing it sexually, in prosperity, in your leadership position. You know, if you are a leader, you have a bigger responsibility with power. So you have a bigger responsibility to stay humble and not let the power become you, right? And so we're all being forced to face these things as we're seeing in the outer world, chaos, stuff being exposed. Where's there abuse of power right now? That's pretty obvious, right? In the police officers and then the brutality and all of these different things that you're seeing. And because it's so disruptive, Uranus going direct, and we're having a full moon that's being aspected by Uranus on Sunday, which is why this week is like full moon in Leo is like step into your power, because Leo is like the lion. She's confident, she's boom, ready to go. But then you got Uranus, who's been exposing all these shocking truths, who went direct. So then all of this abuse of power is being exposed. So then you got Pluto moving into the sign Aquarius, which Aquarius is the sign of the community, the people. So that means you're going to have a lot of uproar, a lot of civil unrest, which is what's happening right now, so that the power can be shifted from one domineering person to the community, back to the people. And same thing in your businesses. If you're still operating under, I'm the boss, I'm the leader, I don't give a damn about the people that I work with or work for me, that stuff is going to go out the door very quickly. Your employees will not respect that. That's why culture is so important, and truly being able to have a holistic environment it's not just that it's a brand or a fad, it's that the planets are transitioning this power from being treated like a slave to, you know what, I am worthy. You know what I bring to this business is powerful. And either you level up on that, or I'm going to leave and start my own business, or I'm going to leave and find something that is more attainable to me. This is why you're also seeing so many people quit their jobs. So like I said, everybody should be reinventing themselves, especially in their business, because we're going to have even more trades that are going to go extinct. The cable, like the cable guy, there's no longer no cable guy that goes to your house, right? The taxis, all this other stuff. Like there are businesses that will go extinct in the next year to 2 years. And so many of you are so attached to those roles because you've never done anything different. So right now, especially this week with the full moon in Leo, where things are going to be revealed so that you can step into your power, we got to really stabilize our nervous system through the inner work, ladies, and have an agile brain so that you realize that what is falling apart and what is being exposed right now, it's for a very big reason, right? And you want to, I always say this, you want to listen to God on the whisper, not on the shout. Meaning if you've been getting signs about these things that need to change in your life, you got to make those changes now. And if you don't have the support and mentorship to do that, you got to find the help now, because we are living in such amazingly beautiful karmic times that karma is passed to, and that we are needing to walk the talk in order to be respected as a leader and to truly be able to make an impact and influence in this world and in our own personal lives. So this is, as you can see, I can blabber on about astrology forever, but it's just a perfect picture, a perfect, beautiful picture. All planets direct, you got the energy, you got the support to make all these changes in your life, to start that cleanse in your body, mind, and spirit, to go in deeper into your healing work. But you've got to walk the talk, and you've got to realize that you, as much as you're the problem, you're the solution in your life. So February is going to be all about progress in whatever areas you've been stuck. And especially if you're doing the holy inner work of changing your subconscious mind, then you're going to be really supported, and opportunities will be falling, and you'll have the energy and the vitality to deal with the stress that comes with those opportunities. Because stress is not a bad thing. That just means that your services are going to be more in demand. Your business is going to grow. Your relationships are going to get stronger. You're going to have a lot of invitations to go to all these amazing parties and to travel. So you need energy. You need vitality. And you need that vitality so that you can live a joyful, beautiful life and live through example. Because that's what we need. We need more people to actually do that. Which leads us to the first Mayan prophecy that we need to start to discuss and talk about. So first thing, a few things about prophecy. So these are, prophecies are visions that you see into the future. All of us have the innate power of prophecy. And even Nostradamus, for example. So Nostradamus is somebody who's pretty famous. He was a philosopher, also, of course, a futurist. And many people don't know that actually Nostradamus knew Mayan astrology. He actually was, his teacher was a doctor who came from, I believe he was Spaniard, came to the land of the Mayas in the areas of like Chiapas, Mexico, Guatemala. And he was a doctor who refused to not help the indigenous people. So he was a doctor who said, okay, I'm here to help the Spaniard people, but I'm also going to help the indigenous people. And the Spaniard people allowed him to do that because he was such a great doctor. So he became really good friends with the Mayan civilization. And then the Mayan civilization took him under his wing, actually, a tribe particularly, and taught him for like 10 years, taught him everything and all he could know about Mayan astrology. Then this particular doctor went and traveled back to Europe, and that's where he found, or many students became, or they became his students, many people became his students, and one of those was Nostradamus. And Nostradamus, knowing Mayan astrology, then wrote all of these prophecies that many of us know about. Now, the thing about prophecy that we need to understand is all of us can, if you are in tune with your body, which is what we're doing in the next 7 weeks, we're connecting the brain to the heart. We are working through each of the chakra centers. Today, we're working on the second chakra, or this week, which is very important because that's where a lot of especially sexual trauma is actually stuck in. But when you are in cohesiveness with your energy, meaning you have a way to manage your stress that doesn't include the numbing ways, right? Like pharmaceuticals or the drugs or all the other ways, the food that we do, to numb ourselves. But if you have a healthy practice, this is what I call your sadhana practice every day. It doesn't matter what you're going through. You're doing your sadhana practice. I mean, unless you're like super sick or something, then you need rest. Then you listen to mantra, right? But if your business is exploding, if you're taking care of someone else because they're sick, you need vitality, you need chi and energy. And those moments are where you don't want to do your inner work of meditation and oxygen to the brain, when those are the moments that you need it the most. So when you get into these habits of daily meditation, which is sadhana, then what happens is you are processing emotions and you're managing the stress of life, whether that's because your business is growing or because, relationship is blooming, or because you are, somebody in your family died, whatever that looks like. You're managing the stress, right? So now you are able to create miracles, which are shifts in perception, because through meditation, you stand outside your story instead of identifying to the story. And you're able to basically stabilize the nervous system enough to be able to look at a higher, bigger picture and not attach yourself so much to negativity, right? And so you are not in low frequency emotions throughout your day, meaning you're not in fear. You might be for moments, but not when you do your practice. You're not in it all day and night, which is what happens when you don't meditate. When you don't do the inner work, you're not processing emotions. Your nervous system can't handle the stress. So what's happening? What is happening is that then your energy is depleted and you're not in a high frequency. You can't find gratitude. You can't find acceptance. You cannot connect to love, and you can't. It's impossible because your nervous system is not stable, and neither is your brain. So now you're in low frequency emotions. Of course, you're not in tune with your intuition. So all of us can see prophecy. All of us can see the future. In fact, many of you have these gifts and you're actually afraid of them. And you're actually afraid of them because of being called woo-woo, or because you're afraid of what you've seen. Some of you have seen things that perhaps are not so, like a couple of my clients have shared with me how they've seen and can see the energy of like when someone's going to pass away or when someone is going to die, basically. And that scared them because they didn't know what to do with that information. But the real reason why you're scared is not because of the power. It's because of the witch's wound that we all carry. We all carry as women. Our grandmothers, especially if you're a woman of color, they were murdered, burned at the stake because they were futuristic. They used the elements of nature and plants, just like the Mayans did. How did they see prophecies? They actually got a cauldron of water and they used 3 sticks from 3 different trees, and they went into nature, and they became completely still in meditation. And they saw the prophecy there, and they saw the future. And in fact, they saw what is happening right now. And they didn't go run away and hide. Think about Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ knew that they were going to crucify him. He knew he was going to be betrayed. And he didn't go fight the betrayer, try to kill the betrayer, or to even stop the process of what's going to happen. They were seers, but they were not identified to a body. They were not identified to their story of who they were. So that didn't make them afraid of it. And if you are somebody who's intuitive and who can see the prophecies, if you're afraid, it's not because of what you're seeing. It's because of you're afraid of being crucified for your powers. So it's time for you to step up and really share your powers, is what I'm saying. Or get into a car accident, something like that. Absolutely. You see that in the future. And some people might say, you prophesize that. You have to be very careful with, is it a prophecy or is it a self-created situation? Because of course, if you are not in your neutral, see, a prophecy, even if it's something like a car accident, will not make you fearful. You'll just understand it. And that's what's going to happen. Whereas if you are paranoid, your nervous system is not stable, then you're around a lot of car accidents, you see that a lot, it's in your vibrational frequency, then if you're afraid of having that car accident, then it's not that you prophesize it. It's actually that you created it because you were afraid. So you have to, this is just, I'm glad that you brought that up, because there's major discernment here. See, the Mayans, they prophesized that the Spaniards would come and that they would murder them or that they would colonize them, but they were not afraid. And many people are like, why didn't they fight back more? The elders specifically told, and this is why a lot of the stories we've been told about the Mayans are so incorrect, but it's done like that on purpose. They were not ready to share their knowledge and wisdom yet. They were basically said it wasn't the right time. So now is the right time. They're sharing with a lot of us that they want us to share this with all of you. So the Mayans told their communities to basically retract and to try to like save as many of themselves as possible, to not fight back. Because if they did fight back, and they were advanced engineers, they were advanced agriculturists, astronomers, and warriors, absolutely. But if they did fight back, the battle would be so bloody that they would be at a basically danger of none of them surviving, where they prophesied way into the future, where they saw that many of them would survive, and that then they would be here for this new cycle that we're moving into. So they did that on purpose. And so this is why I'm telling you, a prophecy, when the Holy Spirit speaks to you, when your intuitive guidance speaks to you, even if it's something like a car accident or death, you will be so in your power and your tune that you will not connect to the fear part of it. And we need to all work on that, because that's why we're also afraid of our gifts and we don't prophesize. So how do we work on that? You need your nervous system stabilization and your brain to be more agile scientifically, which means you need inner work of meditation and sadhana, because that's the only way to do it. There's no magic pill. The other thing, spiritually, you need an intimate relationship with God. And the only way to do that is through meditation. That's the only way. Why? Because that's your relationship with you, spiritual intimacy with yourself, self-realization. Healing is not about changing, it's about knowing yourself, all of you. And if you don't set up an appointment with yourself every day to do that, you're not going to have spiritual intimacy, and you're not going to have a connection with Source, God within you, which is going to make you afraid of your power. So one of the things that I do, and you all know this in sadhana, because we have a daily sadhana practice that is open to anybody who joins my group coaching academy, the Sovereign Woman Academy, where every single day sadhana is offered to you, a virtual space where you can come join us to meditate, to do the inner work, a community where you're getting guidance every single day. So what happens there is we're stabilizing our nervous system, but the prayer that we always say, and this comes from A Course in Miracles, is, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say? And to whom? This is a very beautiful prayer from A Course in Miracles. What this does is that I'm connecting to God within for guidance, and trusting that what God is allowing me to share with all of you comes from a place of God, and doesn't come from a place of my ego, doesn't come from a place of fear, which then has allowed me to be less afraid of my power of intuition, of seeing the future, of prophecy, because I know that it's coming from a source that loves me and not from my place of fear. So great point, Lizzie. And that opens up to a whole other discussion that we can even talk about for years. Elizabeth says, that spoke to me. I just realized I'm here and I was supposed to be here. That's beautiful, Elizabeth. I'm so glad that you're here as well. Thank you for joining us. So prophecy, we can all do it. You have to be in tune with your body, mind, and spirit. That's what the inner work gets you. So the first prophecy we're going to talk about today, and feel free to add your comments and questions. Of course, I will be looking at the chat too. Sometimes I go on little tangents, but it's not because I'm ignoring any of you. It's just that it's like I'm channeling. Like I literally I allow God to work through me. And that's what I'm telling you, that prayer helps a lot. Before I start to say anything, I chant Om Namo Gurudev Namo, which is a sound frequency that we chant to start any kundalini yoga meditation. Connects me to the lineage of yogis that came before me and after me. I also it also brings together heaven and earth, the mind and the spirit, or mind and brain, excuse me. And then I say a protection prayer too. So I do have my own little rituals, I guess you could say, where I've learned how to like get out of my own way and just kind of let God work through me. Do your thing, sissy. Thank you. So so the first prophecy that we want to talk about, remember, we're going to go on a journey here for the next 7 weeks. We're going to talk about each of the prophecies, and I'm going to be sharing with you on Wednesdays a kundalini yoga meditation that will help us with this particular prophecy. Because in the end, where I want us to be at is where we're connected from our brain to our heart, where we're bringing that connection so that we can disrupt these ancestral karmic patterns, and so that we can truly be able to gain awareness as to this new cycle that we're moving in. So the first prophecy speaks of the end of the big cycle. And this is where the Mayan are mostly known for. And this is why they're also like, maybe even you would say they lost credibility. And the reason that is because they have the most accurate calendar ever created was created by the Mayan calendars. It is so exact. I mean, quantum physicists, scientists, they look at it now and they're like, how could they know this? It's such a long time ago. Like they didn't have telescopes, or how did they see Venus? How did they, I mean, it's just amazingly accurate. And so the Mayan calendar speaks of the end of time, or the end of time is exactly how it's said, but people misinterpreted it as the end of the world. And you all can remember this, December 21st, 2012. I was so unconscious back then, like so unconscious, but now I can see why it was the end of time and the end of cycle, because literally December 2012, I was going through the hardest parts of my life in all areas, with my husband, with my business, with my children. I mean, I was like dark night of the soul, boom, 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 boom. So I didn't even pay attention to what was going on. But I know that once 2013 came around, it's like something inside of me opened. That's when I started to realize, holy shit, I'm the problem. I need to bring harmony in my life. I need to heal. I need to forgive. I need to figure this out, because I have been on a spiral of complete self-destruction and abuse of power. So my big realization happened at the end of December 2012, where my deep, deep healing work began 2013. So you have to kind of look at your life too, because I'm sure that if you go back to 2012, something huge ended. A big way of the way you were thinking, because that's what creates your reality. It was the end, and that began, because it wasn't overnight, right? That began the cycle of a brand new 26,000 year cycle, which is now known as the sixth sun, or the age of Aquarius, because in Kundalini yoga, or in India, and that's what they call basically this new cycle, the age of Aquarius. Mayans call it the sixth sun. The Aztecs, everyone referred to this brand new cycle where we were going to be experiencing time differently. In many ways, the first prophecy also spoke about the end of fear. And I can see why they spoke about that. And even though we're all going through so much fear right now, or so many people are going through so much fear, I'm not going to include myself in that one for sure. But one of the things that the Mayans spoke about is that this new cycle for humanity would be a cycle of self-awareness. And I think about the way they basically worshipped or lived with many gods, right? They didn't have just one god, they had so many gods. And I think about the meditation work they did and the temples they built to travel throughout space, and to travel interdimensionally. And you look fast forward to now, what is happening, which is the age of self-awareness, and realizing that God is not in a building, or is not anywhere outside of you, in a priest, in a guru, that God that you are seeking is actually within you. And when you think about the end of fear, it also is directly correlated to the end of the ego. And then I think about the sacred books that have come into my life, like A Course in Miracles, So A Course in Miracles, many of you know that I've been a student since like 2008 when my spiritual awakening first began, but I've been teaching it. It's going to be more like 4 years now, every single week. And this course literally is the release of guilt and fear through forgiveness and acceptance, and through self-awareness of the Christ consciousness being born inside of you, not inside of anyone outside of you, not one favorite son or daughter of God, all of us awakening to that. So the end of fear is not only palpable, but it is our birthright. And the way we transcend fear is through a neutral mind. How did Jesus Christ go beyond fear on that cross and still say, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do"? The inner work he did. He was a yogi. He was proven to have been in many ancient caves in India, maybe even Egypt, teaching meditation, because he didn't come to teach crucifixion. He came to teach resurrection. And he said, "You will do bigger things in this world than I have ever done," because all of us have that ability to awaken the Christ consciousness in us. But we have to come to this university, and we have to shift our perception about what this cross is all about. And we now, in the age of Aquarius, like our Mayan ancestors, there's a deep connection between our Mayan ancestors and Kundalini yoga. They practice tantric practices in order, if you go look at my last YouTube video, I go in detail about the connection between our Mayan ancestors and Kundalini yoga. Why did they practice these ancient practices? So that they could self-realize, so that they could go beyond their limited belief of thinking they're just a body. And now in this day and age, it's even worse, because we not only do we just think we're a body, but we haven't received the healing work we all need to not be our trauma. We're on a pattern of subconscious minds of, I'm not good enough. God is not in me. God is judging me. I'm not going to heaven. I'm good. I'm bad. I'm not worthy. I'm not a good mother. It's a constant just pattern that we're on, that now we have tools like Kundalini yoga, which was secret. You had to have been a king or a queen to practice these practices, because God forbid all of us self-realized. God forbid that we all woke up. Well, now we're here in this age where that old cycle where you thought all the answers and the solutions and the healing was outside of you. Now we're awakening and we're like, oh no, it's in here. And we're coming back home to ourselves. And the way we're coming back, and this is what I always describe, I've used many healing techniques in my journey of self-healing and self-awareness, because my awakening journey began 2008, a long time ago, a very long time ago. And it was through a dark night of the soul. And that's when I started to dabble in a lot of different practices, healing modalities. I would travel the world and just like learn about all these different healing modalities in search of this answer, right? But when Kundalini yoga came into my life, I had already been practicing A Course in Miracles, which really has aligned me with a lot of these different miracles in my life. And Kundalini yoga came into my life. It was like I went from being on a bicycle back home, because we're all coming back home, whether you do it in this lifetime or another one, to like getting on a jet. And all of a sudden here I am. And not only does life make sense, but more importantly, you disrupt the pattern at the level of the DNA, because Kundalini yoga is a tantric practice that is an energy practice. So it works at the level of emotions. What are emotions? Energy and motion. So if you work at the level of emotions, you're getting to the root cause, which is what changing your outer world. And more importantly, allowing you to not revert back to the old program. That's why there's no pill that can heal depression or anxiety. There's no pill that can heal the continued trauma that has been in your lineage of sexual abuse, of physical abuse, of violence, which is why our nervous systems are so out of whack, why our brains are so fragile. And even though we're only 20 to 30 years old, they look like they're 90-year-old brains. This is why addiction is not voluntarily or behavioral. This goes deeper than that. And we got to address the deeper issues. So what they were talking about was basically this new time and cycle that we're all moving into, and this new era. And we have to pay attention to a lot of the science that's out there already about what is being told. I was recently listening to this podcast, and it was, or actually a YouTube video, Druvelo, who created I'm not going to even try to say his last name. One day I will practice for the entire day and then I will come say it right. But he wrote The Flower of Life, and he was somebody who basically, he worked a lot with the Mayan tribes, and they worked with them to bring a lot of this information out to many of us. And this is why it's also really, really important for women of color, especially like you and I, these are our roots. Mayan ancestors are our roots. And we have been so programmed, our color, to not be proud of our roots through colonization, through trauma. Some of the things that they would do to Native Americans in these schools, they would take them from their homes, the government, and they would put them in these schools. And if they spoke the language of their ancestors, they would put a pen in their mouth and to torture them so that they would learn not to speak their language anymore, not to be proud of their roots. And then they come and they tell us all these incorrect stories about our ancestors, that they're savages and that they didn't know what they were doing. They're so much more advanced than us. And this is the time for us to be proud of our roots, to not feel better than. That's not what I'm saying. To be proud of your roots, to speak about also the amazing things that our ancestors did do. And so Drunvalo was basically, he's someone who the Mayan ancestors, the tribes that are currently around, taught him a lot so that he could go and teach a lot of us a lot of information. And I was listening to one of his YouTube videos, which is actually since 2013. And he spoke about this movie that was released in 2003. And you all can go look at it, because this is like proof that this prophecy has already come to fruition. At the end of time, or the end of this cycle, there's proof in the spiritual aspect, because so many of us are awakening, but in the scientific aspect, that's where it gets super interesting. So back in 2003, there was an organization called Nova, comes from a science background. It's from actually a private sponsor or funder who is focused on the evolution of consciousness and stuff. But the whole movie is incredibly scientific. And what the movie is talking about is literally, they're saying it there, what the Mayan first prophecy was talking about. They're saying how we are going to get to a time very soon, this is in 2003, where the electromagnetic field of Mother Earth is going to completely be, there will be no electromagnetic field of Mother Earth. Now, some of you are like, who cares? You better care, because the electromagnetic field of Mother Earth is what protects us from solar flares, from all of these different things that are happening out in the astros. Without an electromagnetic field, we are basically defenseless and dead. So we are literally, and this is not something to scare you about, because this is something that has happened before. And this is why the Mayans knew it was going to happen again. And in the movie, they talk about this too. So everybody talks about climate warming and all this stuff that's happening with the climate. Well, it's inevitable. They can't stop it. And yes, a big part of it is because we are human beings that have fallen asleep, and we are not in harmony with Mother Earth. So she is wiping all those beings out of this world. So many people that are dying. There is no heart coherence. There is no mindfulness. There's no present moment awareness. Mother Earth recognizes her children through heart coherence. And if you are just materialistic, moving on with your life, if you're numb, basically you're not even alive anyways. So what is happening, and what happened again in this old cycle, is the North Pole and the South Pole literally changed positions. And so the North Pole will now be the South Pole, and the South Pole will now be the North Pole. And this is in that movie. Go look at it. It's on YouTube. It's called, it's by Nova. I'll put it in the show link or show comments as well, so you guys can go check it out. So it's shifting. And when this shifts obviously the electromagnetic field of Mother Earth. The way that our ancestors, the Mayans, this is what we're talking about, solutions, right? This has happened before. Many people died, many people survived. And it's not a one-day event. You are seeing people commit suicide. That is the Great Flood. This is where mental health is so important. There are no magic pills for mental health. The reason why our Mayan ancestors were so healthy during such great moments of change in time when they were going through it was because they were in harmony with Mother Earth. They were in harmony with themselves. They had these tantric practices where they knew they were beyond a body. They were spiritual, right? So in this day and age, that's what's going to allow you to thrive and be successful in all areas of your life. If you are basically not seeing yourself as the Darwinian theory of competition, if you're truly seeking to work with community, if you truly are doing the inner healing work of forgiveness. So we skip over that so much. And it's a big, big part of my group coaching academy, the Sovereign Woman Academy. That's the spiritual psychotherapy part. Because you see, even if it's someone that has died and that you still are holding a grievance, even if someone you don't have to see every day and you say, oh, I already forgot about that. The problem with that is that it's not true. Your subconscious mind is still carrying those grievances, which is keeping you in low energy because your subconscious mind is trying to keep you safe from that memory. And then not only that, you're not in your heart. You're only in your logical mind, which means you're overwhelmed with stress and you're not evolving to the demands of this new time where to be successful. And this is why you're seeing a lot of business people. I see it. It's become almost, they don't even know they're doing it. So it's not a trend, but you see super successful people that have made 20 million, 50 million, $1 billion. They're not focusing on strategy this year to grow more money, to grow their business. They're going to grow their business. They're going to grow more money, or they're going to have a lot more money. But what they're focusing on is their inner work, the healing that they have to do with the traumas that they haven't dealt with, the healing that they have to, and we do it at a way deeper level at the DNA and subconscious mind, which is the ancestral stuff. Why? Because it affects you in every area of your life. It doesn't matter if you have the best business strategy, or even if you align with the most beautiful relationship, you're going to self-sabotage it. You're going to mess it up because your inner child ancestral wounds are going to come up and they're going to attack you and attack the situation, which is why it is very important. And this is why you're also seeing a lot more people talk about mental health, about what they're going through, the help they're seeking. You know, the biggest problem with not disrupting this pattern is that none of our ancestors received the help that they needed. If just all of us get the help that we need, that's how the pattern stops. And no longer will your children get that. So if you're listening to this, there's a big reason for it. And all of us are chosen by our ancestors to break these patterns, to do the inner work. But not everyone says yes. So you have to be courageous and willing to say, you know what, and not only does it stop with me, but my old thought system of fear, which is ending, of feeling separate from God, source, of feeling guilty for a past that I'm running away from, of not forgiving, all of that is me, and I can accept it and become aware of it and learn how to transmute it and use it for energy. Because we all know these people that have gone through the heaviest dark nights of the souls or the worst things in their lives, and they then use that to become great teachers, to help others in this world, or to truly learn lessons that make them wiser, that then as allowing them to show up authentically as who they truly are, and not fragmented souls, which is what happens when we don't fully become aware of who we are, and we don't learn to do the inner work of accepting ourselves. So the calendar, that was one of the biggest misperceptions, that the world was going to end. Yes, the world as we know it, absolutely. And I think we can all agree that that's the truth. And as we move through time, it's only going to get more faster and things are going to change even quicker. So the only thing we can do is disrupt these patterns so we can learn to be present and in this present moment, not on a pattern. And through that, stabilize that nervous system, stabilize that brain, get agility in there through the inner work of meditation, of tantra, so that we can elevate our consciousness, evolve, and truly understand that what this next new cycle needs of us in order to be successful, whatever that looks like to you. So what we're going to be doing this week is we're going to be working with the second chakra. So the first week, if you missed it, you want to go to my YouTube channel or the podcast, which is, you can find it everywhere where podcasts are streamed. But last week, what we're doing in order for us to disrupt these ancestral karmic patterns is I'm giving you a little bit of a taste of kind of like the things that we do inside of the academy, a big taste of it, because the academy is really holding you by the hand, mentorship, community. Oh my gosh, many of you have reached out to me and said, that's like the thing that I'm missing the most. I'm going through everything you're talking about, but I don't know how to integrate it. I don't have the community to do it. Well, the community exists and we're here. And if you're interested in finding out more about the community, of course, you can go to my website, veronicabarraganiam.com/SWA. Now that's all the information you'll need for the actual academy, the application where you can actually apply, and we'll set up a call so we can go over your situation. If it's a good fit, great. If it isn't, great. And if it doesn't work out for you, there's also a second alternative, because there's two ways that you can work with me. Through my group coaching academy, the Sovereign Woman Academy, when you're ready to fully go all in with disrupting these ancestral karmic patterns, that's where you're going to learn my actual SWC method, the specific meditations, the specific spiritual psychotherapy work you need to do to break these patterns. And then the second aspect, of you're a beginner or you have never done any type of inner work, I assess your situation, kind of look at what you're going through. And if for some reason I feel that the academy is not a good fit for you, then I always offer you not always, but if it's a good fit, I offer you the second option to work with me, which is through my membership community as well, where you get 3 classes a week, all virtual, on your own app if you're going to miss the live the live classes, so that you can actually start to integrate the SWC method at a deeper level. So I will actually put links to that information in there. But these weeks, I'm really giving you a really nice, beautiful taste of what this looks like. And if you stay up to date and you follow what we're doing each week, it's going to help you a ton in being able to already feel the power of this work. So last week we talked about how important it was for us to release energy from the root chakra, which is the very first chakra, coiled at the, it's not the first chakra, but it's the chakra that's coiled at the bottom of the spine. We talked about why chakras are so important with the connection of the brain and the heart. Chakras are like brains, they're energy centers, and they get damaged too if you also are going through stress and not processing it, trauma, all these different things. So the root chakra was very important for you to start to release that energy. So go practice that meditation first before you actually practice this one, which is the one you're going to be learning on Wednesday on YouTube. So go follow me there as well, and click on the notification so you're notified when I actually do go live there. But this week we're going to be working on the second chakra, which is the chakra that is impacted a lot by our sexual organs. It is the chakra known as the Svadhisthana, which means sweetness. And this second chakra is all about sexuality, which is what? Creativity, it's inspiration, it's energy storage. It's a chakra of the opposites, of the polarities, right? The good and the bad, the up and the down. It's how we create movement. It's pleasure. It's basically freedom at the same time as complexity. When it's nice and balanced, this beautiful chakra manifests as the ability to experience pleasure, to be creative, to be inspired, and to stay open-hearted. Because ultimately what we're doing is we're building the energy from the lower triangle to the center to the upper, so that we can actually have this connection that we're talking about. So usually it's represented by the color orange. A lot of people see the chakras now in colors, and it's midway between the pubic and the navel. So not right at the navel, but pubic and navel, and even the navel. The navel is about 2 centimeters right below the belly button. So it includes all your lower abdomen, your genitals, and your womb. And the focus for the second chakra is about sexuality. It's about pleasure and creativity. So what we're going to be doing on Wednesday is I'm going to be sharing with you a meditation to open up this chakra and to allow us to move the energy as we move through the weeks up to the brain, so that we can experience this disruption of ancestral karmic patterns, and we can actually do the inner work to get us there. Remember, with Kundalini yoga, the only thing that you have to remember is that as long as you know how to breathe, I think all of us know how to breathe, otherwise we wouldn't be here, you can practice Kundalini yoga. We get it a lot confused with like bending of our bodies and doing all these crazy things, which does happen because your mind is neutralized, your chakras are working. But we need to understand that if you can breathe, you can practice Kundalini yoga. Question here: will this live be posted on your page? Great question. Yes, it's not on my Instagram page, but you can find it on my Facebook page, and you'll have all the replays for that on my Facebook page, also on YouTube. So go to YouTube. YouTube is where I post everything. So you really want to be following me on YouTube. It's at Veronica Barragan I am on YouTube. You'll have all of the replays for all of this. And especially if you need to go back to the first week, because remember, we want to start at the root chakra. Please do them in order, as you will get the best effects that way. Thank you for that question, Grass Dancer 7. It's so different when you answer questions on Instagram, because you can't really tell the real first name. But thank you. Thank you all so much for being here. I am going to make sure that I didn't miss on any questions, comments. The flow, just one victory. Let's make sure nothing else. Okay, awesome. Well, like I said, join me again on Wednesday at noon. I'll be coming to you from the motherland. I'm actually heading back to the place where my lineage, the story of my lineage began, where I was born in Michoacan, Mexico. This is an annual fiesta that they do in the rancho where we're from. And last minute, my parents went, and last minute, my husband and I decided that we were going to join them as well. So I'm going to be coming from there, which is really powerful, sacred land. I mean, literally with my ancestors. So join me on Wednesday, 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, where we will be practicing the second meditation in the series for the second chakra. If you have any questions, like always, you know where to find me. You can shoot me a DM here on Instagram, on Facebook, or on the podcast. And make sure you're following also on YouTube and subscribing. Thank you all so much. Honored to be here with all of you. I'll see you all on Wednesday. Satnam.